Well, welcome to Wacky Wednesday with Sandy at my sewing room. Now, this show is being pre-recorded and will be aired on July 20th, 2022. It's part of the Simple Sewing, Summer Sewing episodes. This will be week number 3, the tea towel apron. And so I'm away that week, so we're just doing a little pre-recording. But I'd like to thank you all for viewing, liking, commenting and sharing our Facebook lives and YouTube feed. So I really appreciate that. All right, so let's get started. I don't have an audience today, so it's just going to be me. So hang on and here we go. Hi, it's Chef Sandy here. This is week 3 of the Simple Summer Sewing, and I will be demonstrating how to make a tea towel apron. So this is the first one that I made, just as a sample that's hanging in the store. And so I'm going to be making a few others with different kinds of fabric, and it should be fun. So is everybody ready? Hey, hey, good sewers, what about sewing something up with me? Hey, hey, good sewers, what you got sewing? How about sewing something up with me? Got my trusty wooden spoons because we're in the sewing room, but also in the kitchen today. We're going to be making some tea towel aprons. So I just want to get started and let you know what we're doing. First off, we are following the tea towel apron pattern, which is from the Quilt Company. And it is $2.50 per recipe, like little things, plus GST, of course. So this is what we're following today, and they are available at the store. Plus, our lovely Miss Dawn will be kitting some of the kits. This will include the pattern. So anyways, I just thought I'd get started. Okay, so things that you're going to need for this project. So let's have a little close-up look. Oh my goodness, there's a dish and everything. So of course, to start off, you're going to need your usual sewing quilting material. So you'll need your mat. You'll need your big ruler. This is the 6.5 by 24. I also have a small 12.5 by 2.5, which we're going to have come in very handy here shortly. So we've got our rulers. We also have our rotary cutter. Little small scissors to snip with. We have, of course, our awl. And on the other end, of course, is the seam ripper. And these lovely things, you can purchase these at our store. They're made by one of our employees' brothers, and they're beautiful. All right, we also will need, of course, pins. You need a pin. This little pin case was made by Miss Anne. She did some decorative stitching on some silk. They're absolutely lovely. And there's my pins. We'll also need some marking tools. For this one, I recommend a wash away one. Just because we're going to be marking on the front side of the apron and turning it to the back, so there could be some marks, so you want to have it washable. I would not do the dry erase at this case because if it's ironed, it's permanent. So use your wash away. We'll also use just a regular pen, because we're going to be doing a little tracing, so a little pen. Other things that will come in very, very handy today, of course, is the Turn It All, the original bow whip. And I got to tell you that this is really hard to source. And so I have had John looking through all of the inventories and all the different suppliers that we have, and we think we may have found it at Checker. So hopefully we'll get some more, because this is a very important tool for today's job. The second last thing we're going to use is a bodkin, because the bodkin is going to help us pull our tie through our little casing on our apron and may finish it off. So the one thing that's kind of odd in here is you do need a dinner plate, because we are going to be tracing this edge of the dinner plate onto our pocket and cutting it so that our pocket is curved. So those are the tools that we are going to use today, plus, of course, our pattern. So those are the things we need. All right. So now first off, fabric. It's totally your choice what fabric you use. We're going to use it for the pocket and for the tie that comes through the back and ties at the back. You can't see my tie, it's too low. Anyway, so you're going to need a fabric. So this first fabric that I selected was this one. It is the Daydreamer Fabric. It's called Forbidden Fruit Snacks. And I thought that's really fun. If you're in the kitchen cooking and everything, you got an apron that looks kind of kitcheny. It's very sweet. Then I got started and I thought, well, you know what? I really like very bold and happy colors. So I chose a second fabric. This time it was called Glass Beads. And this so happens to be the glass bead colors that I selected for this one, but they come in many colors. I just thought it's very fun. It kind of reminds me of something that a young person might wear. It's very just summery and just so bright and pretty. All right, so those are those. Then I got thinking, oh my heavens, there's other occasions where you may want to have a little apron like this, whether it's to give away at Christmas or Halloween or any kind of special occasion like birthdays or little housewarming gifts. It would also be kind of fun for Stampede apron. And that's what got me going on the Stampede fabric. So this one is called Wanted. So you could do it in the blues. I did mine in red. There's also a lovely tan colored one. And then I thought, well, you know what? Other than Halloween and Christmas, what if you have one that's special just for your cabin? So this is a really cute one with the cabin, the woods. It also kind of a male looking apron, so you could use that as well. This one is called Into the Woods. So there's lots of different fabric choices. And for this particular one, you only need 1/2 meter of fabric. They call it 1/2 yard in the pattern, but of course we in Canada sell in meters. So we're going to be going back and forth between our Canadian metric system and the US imperial system with the inches and yards. Okay, so fabric choice is totally up to you. Lots of different choices, lots of different occasions. So I was thinking it would be kind of fun if you made this apron for another person. You could have matching aprons like mother-daughter or mother-son or grandma and grandchild and dad and daughter. Whoever is the cooks in the family, it would be kind of fun to have matching aprons. All right, so other than an apron fabric, which you need 1/2 yard of, for the ties in the pocket, and you could make the pie and the pocket and the tie in different fabric colors. You don't have to just be one. You need a woven cotton tea towel. So for the ones that I made today, I've just used plain white. These ones are the Kimberbell ones. They come 3 to a package. I know that Donna will be kitting some of these ones up, and we'll have an individual apron tea towel in each of the kits with a pattern. But I used, in this case, the Kimberbell one. You can also get OESD ones. They've got black and white. Or you can get the really nice Dunwoven ones as well. This one comes with a package of 6, so I don't know if you really want to make that many aprons, but they might make cute little Christmas gifts as well. So lots of different aprons that are already pre-packaged. This is the Kimberbell set that I did. It came with 3 in it, and it just so happened to work out really nicely because I've made 2 of the same for, 2 people to be together and a Stampede one. So that came really handy. Or, of course, you don't have to stay with basic white and color. You can do tea toweling from Moda or Dunwoven that are already colored. And so maybe you might want to use a white pocket or a white strap, or you could do really fun navy, or you could find some other colors that you might like. There's some solid ones so that you could still use some of that fun fabrics to put on there. But there's lots of options. So you don't have to just get the packaged ones. You can go with any other color tea toweling. All right. So for that. So it tells us that we need a cotton tea towel, we need a 1/2 meter of fabric, whatever you like for the ties and the pockets, all of our sewing things, including the dinner plate, which is absolutely wonderful. All right, so the first thing you're going to do then is out of that pocket material that you got, you're going to cut 3 2.5-inch strips. Kind of sounds like we're going to do a quilting project, doesn't it? But yes, we need those. These are going to be put together and used as the tie that goes all the way around. So it's continuous right from one side to the other and can be easily adjusted. The other thing you're going to cut out of your fabric is your pocket. And you're going to need 2 pieces, a front and a back. So for cutting instructions, you need the 3 2.5-inch by width of fabric, and you need 2 rectangles that are 8.5 by 15. So that's your cutting instructions. That's it. That's all you need to cut and do. All right. So let's first of all start with the tea towel and make that little apron. Okay. I'm just going to rearrange some of my things off my counter so that I can show you on my cutting board what we're going to do. So you will need your cutting board, you need your marker, and you're going to need your ruler, both rulers in this case, the long one and the short one, and you're going to need your rotary cutter. Okay, so we've got our tools. So our tools. Now, they tell you to take your tea towel and you're going to put it right side up. And they're going to say, find the center. So all we have to do to find the center is just fold that tea towel in half. And I just mark it with a pin, just so it gives me an idea of where that center mark is. Now, they ask us to measure 4 inches on either side of the pin, that's the center, and mark it. And this time, this is because we're on the front, I'm using the blue water-soluble marker. It will wash away. So I'm marking 4 inches on that side, 4 inches on this side. Your next step then is to take your really big ruler, because they ask you to mark 15 inches down the side. So use your big ruler. I start with the 1 at the top and go to the 15, and I'm going to mark that out on the side as well. Get myself out of the way. So there's 15 inches down on that side, and we'll go over here and mark 15 inches down on this side. All right, that's our starting point. So what first thing we're going to do is actually connect up our dots. So there's our center. Let's start with the right-hand dot. Move this over so you can see. There's the right-hand dot at 4 inches. I'm going to start there, right on that dot, go right to the 15-inch mark, and I'm going to draw a line. This is going to be our first fold line. Okay? Then we're going to mark another line, which is going to be a 1 1/4 inches out. We're forming the casing is what we're doing. So there's 1 1/4 inches out. And then we're going to make one more that is 1 inch out. Okay, just mark that. Okay, and what of course we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So there's our markings. You might not be able to see it. Let's do a close-up. Let's see if you can see my blue lines. You'll see that I've got 1 at the 4-inch mark, 1 at 1 1/4 out, and 1 at 1 inch. All right, kind of hard to see. Kind of bright white, that thing. All right, so let's go back now and do the opposite side. So we have our mark at the top at the 4 inches from center. We're going to the mark at the 15 inches off the side, and we're just going to draw a line because we are going to fold it on that line, okay? And we're going to now measure out 1 1/4 inches from that line. This is going to be upside down for me, so hang with me. I'll turn myself around a little bit and draw the 1 1/4 inch line. And I'm not worried because this is going to wash away. Then I'm going to go to that line and do 1 inch more. Okay, so now what I've done from one side, I've done to the other. Okay, oh, got my big hat in the road. Got to watch that hat. That little chef hat just gets in the road. All right, so now we're going to cut it. I'm using a smaller rotary cutter this time, and I'm going to the very outside line. So that was our first initial line, the 1 1/4 inch line and the 1 inch line. I'm actually going to cut it on that 1 inch line way out there on the edge, and I'm trimming it. That gives us our little top. There we go. So that gives us a slant across, this gives us that little slant across the front. And we're going to do that to both sides, okay? So we're cutting, just cutting off that edge. Now, your next step would be to light up that iron, which I told you you needed an iron, but I didn't get you to get one. All right, so you're going to need an iron, and what you're going to do is actually now fold these to the back side of the fabric. You're going to fold on the 1 inch mark, and you're going to press. And I'm just going to finger press, okay, 1 inch on that. And then you're going to iron that in place, and then you're going to fold on that 1.25 inches. So what we've managed to do now is make a little casing, because that's where the tie slides through. Okay, all right, and you do that to both sides. When you have that done, you're going to run a 1/4 inch seam down that inside fold, the one closest to the body of the apron, because then that gives us a tube that we're going to slide that tie in. So fold the other side up as well. So fold at the 1 inch mark first, iron that down, flip it, and as I say, I'm just finger pressing, flip it, and there you've got your casing. So then you're going to actually sew, and I used polyester thread because it's a little bit more giving, and I used white because that's what the tea towel that I'm using is stitched in white, and I am going to stitch right along where my pins are, okay, and that will hold it, and that gives us our little tube. All right, now that is the first part of the apron, so it's going to look like this. So let me show you. I have one already stitched completely. I just thought I'd save us some time because sometimes there's a lot of sewing involved and we don't have time to set up the apron. Oh, and I kind of wrinkled it. But there he is. He's all stitched. Let's see if we can do a close-up on that stitch line. You can see right there, it's on the inside edge, not on the fold, on this fold. And that way we can get that tie through there. So that's the casing that runs down both sides of the apron. All right. Now, let's go back. Now, you cut out a pocket piece, 2 pocket pieces that were, what again was it? They were 8.5 by 15. So what we're going to do now is put those 2 pieces right sides together. All right, so right sides together as evenly as we can. And I usually just put a little pin in the center just to hold it so it doesn't shift around too much. And now, your most valuable piece of equipment that you're going to be using today, and that is your dining room plate. We're going to make these pocket corners. You could make them straight. You could make them come to a point and go straight. Just for fun, I'm making them rounded. So I'm going to lay my dining room plate on here. I'm going to just measure really quickly to see where it is. From where it touches out toward the edge is about 4.5 inches, okay? And where it touches here and comes to the edge is about 3.5. So I'm just going to try and remember those in my head. I'm going to use my ballpoint pen on this because it shows up better on the materials, and I'm just going to trace that line right there. So now you can see I have a little line, where the plate is. So let's move the plate over to this side. And again, from there to there was 4 inches, it says. So I'm going to put my plate where it will end at 4 inches when I go around that curve. All right, and this side was 3.5. And there's the 3.5. So I'm just going to tuck it up just a little bit to make sure I've got the 3.5 so that they're even. Nothing like having a pocket that isn't even. All right, and then I'm just going to trace with my ballpoint pen around that plate to give us that nice curved corner. So very important, that dining room plate. All right, next step then is I'm actually going to curve that corner. I'm going to cut that off with my rotary cutter. Keep your hands out of the way of the blade, of course, and press hard enough that you're going to get through both layers. And you're just going to, oh, you can't see from my big fat hat. Sorry, guys. Let's try that again and keep my head out of the way. Just trim with your rotary cutter on that pen line all the way around. Oh, make sure you're pressing hard enough that you get through both layers. There we go. All right, so now our pocket has got a curve. Now we are going to sew this, and we're going to sew it, but we're going to leave an opening, because this is the top of the pocket. This is actually the top, and the rounded curve part is the bottom. I'm going to leave an opening at the bottom because we're going to have to turn this inside out. So I'm just going to pin it there and pin it there. So this is going to be my starting point. When I sew, I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam, and I did all 1/4 inch seams. Being a quilter, of course, we always do the 1/4 inch seam. So I'm doing the 1/4 inch seam. I used my Bernina and I used my 1/4 inch piecing foot. And I really love the Bernina 1/4 inch piecing foot because it's a 1/4 inch on either side, so it didn't matter which way I turned it. It just made it so much easier, especially when I was doing the casing, because the casing's in the center. These are all done at a 1/4 inch, and I did them with a poly thread to give it a little tug. Okay, so they will stand up to a little bit of wear that we're going to do. All right, so now you are going to sew. Doing a back stitch when you start, you're going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way around. Do the nice even 1/4 inch, keep your needle down, stop it and go this way, 1/4 inch. Again, stopping at the corner, pivoting, keep that needle down, and stitch all the way around and back stitch right here. So then this will be all sewn together. And then you have to turn it inside out. So I've skipped ahead a little bit because I don't really have a lot of time to do the sewing on board, but you will sew that together and then you're going to turn it inside out. So now we have it turned inside out. You can see the hole where I had that. What I've done is press it all nicely so that it's nice and flat. I've turned the edges. Let me show you close up. I've turned the edges under here so that when you sew this to the apron, it will close that opening that I had for turning. I have worked my points so that I've got that nice little points at the top. And then what I did after I've got it all done, I did a 1/4 inch stitch across the top just because it's decorative and it's pretty and it will match the stitching when we go to stitch this onto the pocket. It will match the stitching for there. All right, let's go again. Okay, so now we have our pocket. So now we take that lovely apron blank that we finished with the casing on the side, and we're going to position it into the center of we're going to center it. And I think I started there's something about the 4 inch mark or something. I started this up 4 inches from the bottom. Seemed to be a nice place for it. And then I made sure that it was centered in the quilt. This says it's about 4.5. I think we have to move it over a little to the side. Yeah, this one's only measuring 4. So let's go to a 4.25 here. A little bit more. Let's see how we are on this side. 4 1/4. Good, so that's centered in the thing. Give it an eyeball and just check it to make sure it looks like it's even across the top and the bottom and the sides. Now we're going to pin this in place so it doesn't go away. All right, so pinning it in place. All right, then you're going to go back to that lovely machine of yours, and you're going to use that 1/4 inch piecing foot again. You're going to use some poly white thread. I used white thread to match with all the other threads on here. Plus it gave it a cute little design finish. You can use whatever color thread you want. If you want it to be matching so it hides away, if you want it to be contrasting, whatever you would like. Now, you got to make sure we don't sew this top part to the pocket down. So you're going to start on the right hand edge and you're going to back stitch, and then you're going to stitch all the way along 1/4 inch. And as you come through here, this will seal off the pocket opening where we had it, and just keep going 1/4 inch all the way down up to here, back stitch. So now your pocket is stuck on. Now, of course, I was only going to make 2 of these little aprons because I have a mother and actually a granddaughter and a grandma in mind who are going to get those, so I only made 2. And then I thought, you know what, I have to make a stampede apron. I just thought that would be kind of fun. So I switched over and started another tea towel blank, and I did exactly the same things as I did before. I made a little casing for my tie, and then I made another pocket, and this time I made my pocket I made it out of the Western fabric. Now, you can finish your little pocket any way you like. I have sewn this down, but I did something a little different on this one. You can leave your pocket wide open, or I put a stitch down here and a stitch down here, so my pocket now has 3 little pockets. I got a small pocket here, a same size pocket here, and a big one in the middle. Now, I'm just going to show you the apron I'm wearing because this was the first one I made, and I followed the directions. Of course, you follow the directions the first time round. So this one, they told us to make it with a small pocket, a medium-sized pocket, and a big pocket. So this one has slightly different. You can also leave that pocket wide open. You don't have to have it sewn shut at all. Anyways, I just thought it's kind of fun because you can put your things in there. You can put your tools in case you need anything. So these little aprons are good for other things. You don't have to have a white one. You can put different colors. You can use it for cooking, of course, baking. You can use it for painting. You can use it for going out in the garden and gardening. I wouldn't recommend a white one for that, or the white one for the painting, but it would be fun. Or you could be wearing this, I'm thinking would be great for a stampede barbecue or pancake breakfast or something fun like that. Anyways, a little Western wear never goes wrong in Calgary, I tell you. We're always into that stampede mode. All right, so now we have cut our tea towel and made it into the correct shape with the casing. We have taken our pocket, we've designed it, we've put it on, we've sewed it on. The next thing you know is we had all those strips. I told you to cut me some strips. Oh, don't want that, I want top. Okay, so here are my strips. And I said to cut them 2.5 inches by width of fabric. And of course, trim the selvage off. So you're not going to know exactly how long this is, but it's pretty close. But we're going to do what the quilters do. We're going to connect these all up. We're going to use that lovely 45-degree connecting stitch because it's the strongest one. So we're going to take one strip face up. We're going to take the second strip face down. And we are going to sew on the diagonal. So you're actually going to sew right along where my pin is, from this corner to this corner. This is the way quilters attach their binding to make it work. And then when they sew it and open it up, it is all one continuous strip. All right, continue on. There's 3 pieces, so we're still face up. This one then goes face down. and you're going to sew it on the diagonal. All right, sewing that on the diagonal. So in the end, we have one very long piece. Now, as quilters do it for their binding, of course, you're going to press that seam, and you're also going to trim it to 1/4 inch. So it's going to be looking like this when you're done. Okay, so I have stitched, okay, pressed it wrong. So you'll see that I have trimmed it to the 1/4 inch, and I have pressed it flat. If you like to press it straight open, you can. Either way is fine, but now we've got this long strip. Now, quilters at this part would be going, okay, right sides on the outside, sew this to this edge of the quilt, and away you go, flip it and turn it. However, this is going to be a tie. So this time we are actually going to put the right sides together. Fold it up and put a pin in there so you don't lose it. And we're going to sew this, and then we're going to turn it. So you're going to sew this. Let's find center on this, because you're going to go only halfway from each direction, because you have to leave an opening so you can open it. So this one, we're going to go as far as up here. Let's see. So we're just going to pin this down. You can iron it into place and pin it so it doesn't move, because then you're going to stitch it closed. So you're just pinning, and then you're going to stitch that on the 1/4 inch, again using your 1/4 inch piecing foot. And it doesn't matter what thread color, because this is hiding inside. And you're going to stitch it to almost center. And when you reach center, you're going to leave a gap, because we have to get this turned somehow. So you're going to leave a gap. And then you're going to start back at the other end, and you're going to do it from this way. So at each end, you are going to sew across the tail and up. And these are going to be 1/4 inch. Please make sure you back stitch to hold this steady. And then you stitch your 1/4 inch all the way down the side until you get to that center piece where we stop and back stitch. And you're going to do the same going from the other way. So it's going to look like this. Here it is, all stitched, long. Woo, look at how big it is. And I have left an opening in the center, as soon as I can find my center. Where are you, center? Right here. So I have left an opening right here. Now, of all of the things that we've done so far, this is probably the trickiest. And this is where you use that turn all original bow whip. If one of my friends who did this last time, because we had to turn, it wasn't quite this long, but we had to turn a strap for a bag, she actually got very creative and used a straw and a chopstick, and it worked pretty well. But for this one, I'm going to use the white casing because it's the thickest. I'm going to use the narrowest wooden one. And I'm actually going to just feed it down the tube all the way to the end. And it just slides right to the end. It does eventually get there. This is such a long turner, all the way to the end. Now I'm going to leave it just a little flap over here so that I've got something to push, but I am now going to push that back through that little thing, and I'm pushing and pulling as I go. And now this is where it gets kind of tough, because it's going to get wrinkled up, and it's going to take a little effort to get all of this to the center, but you just keep poking and pulling and poking and pulling, and eventually it gets there. Now, some of you may not have a tool that will help you turn, but you can also do this another way. You can just forego doing a strapping or a tie like this and get actual strapping, you know, like they have on the bags. Or you could use ribbon, which is really pretty as well. I like the ribbons. We've got some beautiful ribbons here. That would look lovely and decorative. Just make sure that you seal the end on those ribbons so that they don't come apart. Okay, just keep squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. I know it looks kind of awful, but you just keep squeezing it until you get to that center, which is coming up right here. There's the opening. So other things that you could use, twill tape if you don't want to use make your own strapping. There's also, as I say, ribbon. You could also, I thought, try making like a bias binding strip. And that would be kind of fun. So, and I'll show you how that works in just a minute. But here we are, we're turning it, we're getting near to the end. I got it stuck in there somehow. There it is. So there's the tube coming out. Now, before you take the wooden dowel out of this end, poke out those corners. Make it nice and square at those corners. Do it now so you don't have to reinsert the little doweling. But there it is. And now you will go back and do the other half of this. So slide the wooden doweling back out. All right, comes out the hole. Then you're going to do exactly the same going the other way. You put the white tube down, chase it all the way to the bottom, and then feed it through with your wooden doweling. All right, once you've got that done, once you've got it all turned and you've poked out the ends, you're going to take an iron and you're going to iron this flat. And it'll take a little work to get it to wiggle out so that it's nice and flat, but you're going to iron it all away. Now, when you hit that center part where we meet up, you're going to do what we did with the pocket. You're just going to make sure that these guys are turned under a little bit, iron it in place, and when you're done, you can either hand stitch this little opening or you can use your machine and just zip it up. Either way, whatever way you'd like. All right, so go ahead and turn your other side and then iron that flat. Okay, so here we are then. Now, here is my finished tie. It's ironed nice and flat. It's got the square corners. And when I hit the center, I actually just did a little white stitch and held it in place just so that it doesn't come off. I see I've got a little furry hanging out there. Trim that off with your little scissor. So now you've got your tie. Okay, now for the magic part. You need that little bodkin that we had earlier. Remember him? The little bodkin? I tried really hard to feed some ribbon through the other day and had a tough time. Now, what did I do with my other apron? Here he is. All right, so this one is nearing completion. So feed your little strap into your bodkin, pull it through, and anchor it nice and tight, okay? Anchor it tight into the bodkin. They say you could use a safety pin, but I like the bodkin better because then you don't accidentally get the safety pin to open up and skewer yourself with it. All right, so here we are. We got it hooked onto our thing. Let's do a close-up. So we're going to start at one end of our casing on the apron, and we're just going to push the bodkin and the tape through. And just pull it through, just keep working it through, just sort of like we did with the thing. Once it gets started, we're better at it. Okay, there we go. Now it's feeding through nicely, and we just feed it all the way through. Okay, you can't see that anyway, so let's go from the top. Top might show you better. So I'm just feeding through the casing all the way. Just pulling it through. So this tie is all one piece. So you know what? You can adjust the neck. You can adjust the waistband. You can tie it in the back. You can tie it in the front. It's good for all sizes. So I'm just going to pull a link through so that I have enough to work for the other side. Okay, and I'll leave that much over there for the tie. Now here it is coming out the top. Where's my bodkin? Okay, here's my apron. I just came out the top on this side. I'm going to go down the top on this side. So I came from the bottom up, go across, and now I'm coming down the other side. All right, hope everybody's doing all right. Yeah, I'm away this week, as you can tell, because it's pre-recorded and I'm not really live. But we'll be back next week with a live show. So this week I just want you to, one joke. I got one joke for you. Why do you knock 3 times on your refrigerator before you open the door? Because the salad is dressing. All right, let's go back to the front. Our strap has now been fed through, so here's the neck. Here's the sides. And tie it in the back, tie it in the front, however you like to tie it. It is good to go. So there is our apron. This is called the Tea Towel Apron by the Quilt Company. Oh, and watch out for your earrings. So there is the Western one that we just made. This is the cute little summer one I made, and I'm making up that other set for a lovely grandma and her daughter. All right, so that is making a tea towel apron. Tea towel apron. Really cute pattern, very, very fast. So you could make this by yourself. You could make it with a little person, a young person, I should say. Or you could, have a little quilting party and make aprons for everybody. They'd be cute little shower gifts and things like that as well. All right, so if you have any questions about this, save them or send them to, put them on Facebook or on YouTube, and I will answer them the following week. I usually do that. I'll check and see who watched. I'll watch the comments. I'll see if I can answer any questions the following week. All right, so thank you so much for joining me today for the Tea Towel Apron. And as I say, I will be back in person for July 27th, which is our week 4 of the Simple Summer Sewing with Sandy. And I'm going to try and make a half and half apron. That kind of sounds mixed up to me, but I'll show you the sample. Here he is. He's really cute. And this one was made with stripes and dots, so you can get really funky with this apron. And it's, again, a very simple little pattern, quick to follow and do, but I'm going to be making mine for the patio. So I think that should be kind of fun. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much. I'm sorry I'm not with you, but I will see you in a week's time. I hope everyone is enjoying their summer vacation. Maybe we can get some sunshine. That would be great. Anyways, take care, everyone, and see you next week on Wacky Wednesday. Thank you.